Welcome to True Crime and Wine Time. I'm Terry.
And I'm Llama.
Tonight, we are uncorking the truth behind one of the darkest crimes and breaking it down together with you.
One case, one conversation, and one or maybe two glasses of wine to take the edge off. It's time to get comfortable and double check those locks before we get started.
So let's take a sip and dive in.
Hello. Look, who's trying to... Is this our first show together in like a week and a half, I think?
I think so.
Yeah.
I don't even know what day of the week it is.
I know. It's a Wednesday, but
It's Wednesday, but
I was sick, and then we've just been ping-ponging back and forth.
It's Hansen. Robert Hansen has broken us.
Yes.
I'm going to be honest.
No.
Alaska has broken us.
Yes, that it has. Hi, Lady in Gray. Hello. Hello. Yes, that's right. Oh. We're going to have lots of rants. It's the last one. So hi,
I love your hair being all red like it is.
Thank you. I blow dried and straightened it, which I do every now and then. It takes a lot to do. I have a lot of hair. So it's a whole process. I don't like to do it very often because it's like 45 minutes to do my hair.
Just to try it and
straighten to blow dry and straighten it? Yeah, girl, I got lots of hair.
I blow dry mine and it's straight.
It's thick. It's very.
I just got straight hair. I have a lot of it. It's just straight. There's no curl. There's no anything.
Yeah, it's not my favorite thing. Hi, Teresia. Hello. Lane. Pam. You've never used a hair straightener? I have so much hair that I sometimes get hand cramps from straightening it.
I mean, I do use a hair straightener, but usually when I'm on like day 4 or day 5 and so much dry shampoo, I have to.
Oh, you know what I forgot to tell you? I was watching one of the Real Housewives. I think it was Salt Lake City. I think it was Mary from Salt Lake City, who uses the same curling iron that you have.
Oh,
the little white one that I saw you use in your one video. I was like, I know. Terry has that. She's a Real Housewives. Well, anyway, hello, everyone. And before we begin, if you're watching us on YouTube, you know the drill. Hit that like button, subscribe to our channel, and hit the notification bell so you never miss when we go live or drop an episode. I get hairpul tunnel. I do. I'll get like cramps and it'll be like I have a claw. It's like,
I get that from the old curling iron I used to use.
I think I'm going to cut my hair very
soon. If
soon.
Savage shows up tonight, just so you know, he doesn't put his makeup on or do any face treatments on his Instagram account that he doesn't have. He let us know that today.
The more you know.
I snipped it for him. Now, guys, if you're listening to this on the podcast apps, please download and most importantly, leave a rating and review as it helps our little pod get noticed.
That it does. And also over on the YouTubes, you can become a member, which comes with all sorts of exclusive perks, including a lot of behind the scenes content and other fun things we do. All you got to do is click the join button and pick which tier works best for you. So, yay.
We just added some new perky.
Hi, Betty.
We even just changed some perky perks around. It's a good time to go check it out. Oh, we need to update that on our members channel information tab.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Add that to our never-ending to-do list.
Okay, I will add it to my to-do list right now while you tell us what we're covering, since you are the one who has brought us through this journey, and we are forever grateful.
Oh, I'm sure after you've all cursed my name, how many times? Like, damn it, Llama,
we haven't cursed your name. We've only cursed 80s. I saw him pop up, not 80s. Alaska and Robert Hansen.
Well, speaking of, tonight is part 12, the very last episode of our Frozen Fear, the Butcher Baker of Alaska series, where we have been diving deep into infamous serial killer Robert Hansen, his endless number of victims who we refuse to let be forgotten, and how all of it could have been stopped numerous times. And the state of Alaska has a lot of blood on their hands, and we've been here to shine a light on all of it. And we did. And we have. And warning, if this is your first episode out of the last 12, there will be lots of rants and cursey words. And you'll understand very quickly why. But before we do that, what are you drinking tonight, Terry?
I had like 1.5 glasses because I wrote it, fill it really full, left of the summertime rosé that was left from the weekend when my bestie was here. And I'll be honest, Double H isn't home because he probably would not approve. But in case he walks in here, I have water too.
Shh, it's fine. We won't tell him. We won't tell him about it at all. It can be public on the YouTubes, but he doesn't need to know.
That'll be when he finds out.
I was going to say, till he goes and edits our show for us.
I forget about that, and he'll say, so by the way, and I'm like, shit, I've got to remember.
I love that. Well, tonight I'm finishing my bottle of Sveta vodka with some 7-Up and orange juice because I said I was going to buy a bottle for this show, and I did. And guess what? We're finishing it off tonight. It's amazing.
Yeah, I mentioned that on Midday Missing today that normally we pair with wine, but Alaska forced us down the vodka train.
It did. It did. Mm-hmm. Yeah, sure did.
It did. It did. Now, in this final episode of our journey into the heart of Alaska's darkest chapter begins not with a voice, but with a profound and heavy silence. The confession of Robert Hansen has ripped the veil of a decade of disappearances, turning missing person files into homicide dockets overnight. I hate this man.
I know. He gets me all worked up too. In the district attorney's office, the atmosphere is electric. Now, there's no celebration. Instead, there is a frantic, meticulous preparation for a sentencing hearing that must do the impossible and quantify the value of 17 stolen lives and 30 shattered survivors. Frank Rothschild and Vic Crum aren't just preparing a legal argument, they are preparing a reckoning, which we have all been waiting for somebody to do and say something.
Should have happened a long time ago, in my opinion.
Oh, that'll be other people's opinions too, as we'll see.
When Assistant District Attorney Frank Rothschild stood before Judge Ralph E. Moody on February 27th, 1984, he wasn't just a lawyer presenting a case. He stood there as a surrogate for the dozens of women who were never given a chance to speak. He stood for the few, like Cindy Paulson, who had fought their way back to the light. And perhaps most importantly, he stood as the conscience of Alaska, a state that had been used as a graveyard by the man sitting in the defendant's chair.
Now, Rothschild knew that for justice to be served, he couldn't just list crimes. He had to articulate the sheer depravity of what Robert Hansen had done. In a courtroom filled with heavy air and broken families, Rothschild did something rare. He did not spare his criticism of those who had aided and abetted Hansen. That's right. No, he did not. He looked at the upstanding men, the friends who had provided false alibis, the people who ignored the red flags because Hansen was a successful businessman, and he held those men to the flame, which about freaking time.
As he should.
Mm-hmm.
In his view, Hansen didn't act entirely alone. He was protected by a shield of respectability that others helped him carry. Rothschild believed that in good conscience, those people had to be called out for their role in allowing this nightmare to continue for over a decade. I think they should have been on trial too, but that's just me.
I think so as well, because it would happen more than one time with the same
I know.
people.
It wasn't just one time.
No. Now, as Frank Rothschild stood before the court, he didn't start with the killer's childhood or the baker's trophies. He started with the sheer, unadulterated terror of Cindy Paulson, much like we did. He reminded the judge of Dr. Hollingshead, the ER physician who had seen a lifetime of trauma, but had, quote, never seen a woman so scared out of her wits that she'd seen her maker, end quote. That's powerful.
That's powerful.
Mm-hmm.
But even that level of terror wasn't enough to break Robert Hansen's confidence, because Hansen knew something that police didn't. He had a network of protection. Rothschild told the judge that Hansen used to give his victims a speech, a calculated, cruel, psychological blow, telling them that it wouldn't do any good to talk because no one would believe them. Who would believe them? Rothschild asked the court. A hooker, a dancer who dances naked, versus this man, respectable, and his friends? End quote.
Now, Hansen knew Cindy's escape with the handcuffs made things risky. So he ran to his good friend, John Henning. That's right. I love saying their names. And Henning stepped up. Rothschild laid out the chilling mindset of these men for the court to hear. To John Henning, the brutalization of women on the streets was simply, quote, an occupational hazard, end quote. And he didn't just lie. He actively participated in the cover-up. Henning took Hansen's weapons to hide them from suspicious police. And when investigators finally read him the Riot Act and warned him about obstructing justice, Henning stayed as calm and as cool as can be. And he looked in the law in the eye and chose a predator over a victim. Shame on you, John Henning. Shame on you.
So, as we say on Midday Missing, people who do that are also predators, Mr. Henning. So you have bought yourself that title.
And I have nothing nice to say about this man. They may not have charged him, but in the court of Llama's opinion.
I was saying the court of might, in our opinion, yeah, done. But the betrayal went even deeper. Rothschild described how Henning and Hansen decided one alibi wasn't enough. They went to a cab driver friend, asking him to lie about delivering pizza and beer to provide a secondary layer to their story.
Yeah, John Henning sucks. Now, and then in perhaps the most stomach-turning revelation of the sentencing, Rothschild described the attempt to hunt Cindy even after she reached the hospital. Henning went to a doctor friend at Humana Hospital, asking him to use his position to dig into the records and find Cindy's name and address. This wasn't just helping a buddy. No, not at all. This was an attempt to silence a witness before she could testify. So before Mr. Henning decides to be like, oh, I was just duped. Really? This does not sound like somebody who was just,
that is tampering with the witness, sir.
Mm-hmm.
And how he didn't get charges.
It pisses me off, to be quite frank. Like, so much disservice has already been done to these victims, and the fact that he wasn't charged with anything is simply more disservice.
Yeah. Thankfully, Dr. Hollingshead, the man who had seen the terror in Cindy's eyes, refused. He suspected this respectable man was the monster they had been looking for, and he told the other doctor to back off. Rothschild finished this section of his address with a line of biting, dry sarcasm that must have echoed in the silent courtroom. But Mr. Henning sure was a good friend.
Wasn't he? The greatest of friends. Hence the sarcasm. I do appreciate that Rothschild decided to call them out on their shit in court in front of everybody and have that on the record.
Yes.
As it should have been. Now, if the courtroom felt cold before, it turned sub-zero as Frank Rothschild began to describe the internal world of Robert Hansen. He used one word over and over again to define the man, and that's cold. Rothschild didn't just guess at Hansen's motive. He used the killer's own words to convict his soul. He described how Hansen would grab a woman by the hair, pull her head back, and jam a gun into her face, not just for compliance, but for the charge, the sexual charge, he got from her terror.
Have I said how much I hate this man?
I know.
Okay.
I know. Me too.
I wanted to have complete control and domination, Rothschild paraphrased. To Hansen, these women were objects in a twisted game of his own making. He told them that if they just went along with the program, that he would let them go. But then came the chilling caveat. When asked what happened to the women who fought back or didn't follow his rules, Hansen's response was as simple as it was horrifying. Well, then they stayed.
And it was here that Rothschild voiced the theory that has since defined the case in the annals of true crime. While Hansen was hesitant to admit the full details, the forensics told a story of a hunt, if you will.
He hunted them down, Judge, Rothschild would declare. He described a predator who didn't just kill, but who toyed with his victims like a cat with a mouse. He would release them into the unforgiven Alaskan wilderness, barefoot, terrified, and desperate. And then he would track them with his hunting rifle. He wanted them to run. He wanted them to claw at the earth. He wanted to feel the power of being the one who decided exactly when their race would end.
Mm-hmm.
This wasn't just murder. It was a perverted version of the big game hunting that had won him trophies in his living room.
Agreed. Agreed. Now, perhaps the most disgusting detail Rothschild revealed was Hansen's own name for his killing spree. He didn't call it a tragedy or a mistake or even a crime. He called it his summertime project, which honestly, I don't know why he called it this, because he killed women at all times of the year. I think he just said that to make it seem like he wasn't a monster all of the time, but dates prove otherwise, sir. So it wasn't just summertime. But anyway, let's humor him for a second. They weren't people to him, Rothschild told the judge. They weren't human beings to him. To Robert Hansen, these women were just more game to be harvested, more marks on an aviation map, and more projects to fill the long Alaskan days. The respectable baker was gone. In his place sat a man who was completely disconnected from the human race.
As the sentencing continues, Frank Rothschild tackled the question that haunts every true crime case. Why? In our modern world, we often reach for a diagnosis to make sense of the senseless. We say, was he sick or was he crazy? Because it's easier than admitting a human being could choose this level of depravity. But Rothschild did not take the easy way out. He didn't let Hansen hide behind a medical chart.
No, he took the court back to Iowa, back to the acne, the stuttering, and the boy who hid under his bed for days because he couldn't face the world. Hansen told investigators that he did all of this because he wanted to feel wanted.
Bullshit.
He claimed motel rooms were too commercial, which is a chilling phrase considering what he did to the women he took. He didn't want a transaction. He wanted a fantasy, a very dark fantasy.
Mm-hmm.
He tried to convince himself that the women wanted to be with him, that it wasn't forced, all while he held a gun to their heads. Make it make sense.
As I say, I'm going to just say to anybody that possibly is watching or hears this, holding a gun to someone's head and forcing them to stay, I can guarantee you they do not want to be there.
No.
In case you think that made sense, that, oh, yeah, they wanted to be there. I'm going to just tell you now, no.
No.
Okay, no.
Mm-mm.
So the why was ultimately about power. I wanted to control things, Hansen said. It made me feel masculine. Rothschild pulled no punches, summarizing Hansen's entire life of violence with one devastating quote from the killer himself. I was just seeing everybody else got theirs, then it's my turn to have fun now.
Mm-hmm. But Rothschild knew the fun didn't stop with the kill. He described the Summertime Project as a self-reinforcing cycle of thrill-seeking. This wasn't a man losing his mind. It was a man building a collection. This hunter who kept trophies on the wall had a world record, Rothschild noted. Well, he now has trophies scattered throughout South Central Alaska. He painted a very haunting picture for the judge. Robert Hansen, the respectable baker, sitting alone in his bedroom, pulling the aviation maps from behind his headboard to admire the little X marks. Each mark was a notch on his belt. Each one was a memory he could revisit to feel powerful all over again. Look at all of those dots. Like, I've seen it so many times, and it is still shocking every time I see that map.
I don't care how many times you look at it. It takes your breath away, or it does me. It's just like...
It does. Mm-hmm. It like, because, we say how much it is, but then when you see all those numbers and all those dots, you're like, holy shit.
Yeah. Even in the confession phase, Rothschilds warned the court that they were still being played. He called Hansen a compulsive liar who only gave the police what he absolutely had to and not a shred more. To Hansen, the legal process wasn't about remorse. It was the final stage of the hunt. It's a game, Your Honor, Rothschild said. It's a game with authority. It's a game with police. It's trying to outfox. It's the big thrill. He had spent his life being the boy no one noticed, the stutterer everyone mocked. Through these murders, he had finally become the big hunter he always dreamed of being. And he wasn't about to give up his final secrets for free.
Now, Rothschild then turned his attention to the one thing Robert Hansen always claimed to value: his family. For years, Hansen had used his role as a husband and father as a shield. Even back in 1960s Iowa, after the arson arrest, he would weep about how much he cared and how worried he was about the impact on his loved ones. But Rothschild didn't see a devoted family man. He saw a strategist, which I agree.
I agree. That's fiction, Rothschild told the judge. He argues that Hansen family was nothing more than a prop. They were pieces of a set he built so he could hide behind a mask of decency. If he had a wife, if he had a home and a business, people would look at them and see a pillar of the community. Guys, it was all just part of the game, the ultimate camouflage for a predator.
And it worked. Obviously. It didn't matter how much evidence, like literally in their face. It worked every single time.
Mm-hmm.
But as the sentencing reached its peak, the focus shifted back to the victims. While Hansen had led them to many, the map was far from complete. Now there are, Your Honor, 13 bodies still out there to find, Rothschild stated.
That number. It was a staggering reminder of the scale of the tragedy. Despite the confession, despite the plea deal, and despite the cooperation, 13 families were still waiting. 13 women were still lying in the cold Alaskan earth. Their locations known only to the man sitting in the courtroom. It was the final haunting proof that even if he was being sentenced to life behind bars, Robert Hansen was still holding on to the power of the secrets. I mean, have they thought of waterboarding? I know it's against the law. I know it's against the law.
I'm pretty sure it was against the law in the 1984 as well.
I know, but how frustrating. Mm-hmm. There's a mark on the map, so you know there's a person there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now, as the sentencing reached its climax, Frank Rothschild looked at the reality of the legal system. In Alaska, the death penalty wasn't an option. But Rothschild argued that even if they could put Hansen to death, it would be far too easy for him.
Hansen had already admitted, I'm going to die in prison anyway. It would probably be better for me if I die quick. Rothschild used that admission against him. He wanted the punishment to be slow. He wanted it to be a daily reminder of everything Hansen has stolen. He painted a picture of the life Hansen would lose. The smell of a mountain meadow, the sound of a trickling creek, the thrill of the wild animals he once headed.
The man who treated the Alaskan wilderness as his personal private killing field. Bless you. Bless you.
Sorry.
That was such a funny sneeze. Oh, bless you.
Oh, did you hear it? I thought I muted it.
Barely. No, you're fine. I'll start that part over again. Now, the man who treated the Alaskan wilderness as his personal private killing field would spend the rest of his life staring at 4 gray walls. He would be forced to breathe the stale, recycled air of a cell for every remaining breath he took. Hansen had requested 2 things: a transfer to a federal prison and psychiatric counseling. For some stupid reason that makes no sense. Because he literally said, I lied to all the psych people beforehand. So like,
and he's in there for life. Why do we need him to get therapy?
Right. It's not like,
why do we need him to be better?
Personally, I think so he could manipulate more.
Well, I know
and
why
control the narratives, but yeah. Now, Rothschild did agree to both, but it was a biting clinical reason for the latter.
We agree, Rothschild said, if for no other reason than to try to make him aware of what a monster he is. He didn't want counseling to heal Hansen. He wanted it to strip away the delusions, the Madonna whore complexes, and the excuses about acne and stutters. He wanted Robert Hansen to finally be forced to look into a mirror and see exactly what the rest of the world saw. A predator who traded human lives for summertime fun. I don't think it's possible.
Yeah, spoiler alert, nothing comes out of it. Just to let everybody know.
I mean, I say transfer him somewhere and tell him that he did stuff to children and let Jen Pop have fun with him. Is that mean of me?
Maybe a little bit. Maybe that's not the most appropriate. He's already, I mean, remember, he did ask to be transferred because he was worried he was going to be murdered in prison by somebody who knew these women.
I didn't want him murdered. I just thought
he knew that if he stayed in Alaska, things weren't going to be good for him.
He just needs some plastic surgery done by a fist.
By a fist. As Rothschild came to the end of his argument, he asked the judge to impose the max for each charge. Hold, please, while I find something to kill the spider.
Itsy bitsy spider. Okay, I had a snake today and you had a spider.
I would much rather have this spider.
Okay.
Hold, please.
Yes, I sent Llama the picture of the snake
me.
that crawled up on the back of our veranda. And I said, so you want to come hang out with me?
I was not amused. All right. Sorry about that. Okay. What was I saying? Oh, yes. So he's asking the judge for a max sentence on each charge. Now, before he took his seat to rest, the last words were, quote, for those people that he has slain, for those lucky enough to have survived, for all of us, Your Honor, we ask that you rid us of this beastly man forever, end quote.
When it was finally time for the defense to speak.
Sorry.
Tricia, it is snake time. So be careful. There was no grand plea for mercy. There was no attempt to humanize the man in the prisoner's box. Instead, his attorney, Mr. Dewey, stood up and delivered a statement that echoed with a profound sense of helplessness. Your Honor, it's my client's wish and desire that nothing further be said on his behalf, and that concludes my remarks.
That's it. That's it. And think about that for a second, okay? An attorney's job is to be the voice for their client, especially at the most critical moment of their life. But Dewey was rendered mute, and not by the law, but by Hansen himself. And you have to wonder if behind that professional mask, Dewey felt a wave of relief, because I bet he did, because he was just as surprised, actually, about the amount of murders there was.
Yeah, I think he was okay with it.
Yeah. I mean, how do you defend the indefensible? And how do you stand up for a man who turned the wilderness into a graveyard? I mean, I wish that more would have been said, but I am happy for Dewey's sake he didn't have to, because what do you say?
Because he didn't want to be his attorney.
And he would have had to if Hansen wouldn't have said that. He had to have said something.
He would have had to. So I don't think Hansen did it to be kind, but I think it wound up being a kind thing.
Yeah, I don't think he did it to be nice to his attorney. He just didn't want anything said about him at all.
Yeah. Judge Ralph Moody now stood at the apex of a legal system that had, quite frankly, failed Alaska for over a decade. He was the one who had to look into the abyss and try to make sense of it. But before he delivered the hammer blow of justice, he gave Robert Hansen one final opportunity. The law requires it. The judge asked, Mr. Hansen, you may stand. Do you have anything to say before the court pronounces judgment?
Now, Hansen, the man who had spent years using words to manipulate and terrorize his victims, the man whose stutter had once made him an object of pity, stood up. And he looked at the judge, and in a final act of cold detachment, he offered nothing. No, sir, I don't. Yeah. No apologies to the families, no explanation for the 13 missing women, no remorse for Cindy Polson, just a flat, hollow no.
Not even, and I'm sorry to his wife.
Nope.
And family.
That he cared so much about.
That he cared so much about. I mean, nothing. I mean, that says a lot, guys.
Yeah. The butcher baker was finished talking. Now it was time for the state of Alaska to have the final word. It just pisses me off that he had nothing to say. Nothing. And that's all we need to know about Robert Hansen, really.
I mean, anything he would have said would have been a lie. So, yeah. So, as Judge Ralph Moody began to speak, he didn't start with Robert Hansen's crimes. He started with the world's failure. I'm going to say Alaska's failure.
Oh, he'll get there.
Especially. I know, but I'm going to just say I want to start with them. In a moment of rare and brutal honesty from the bench, he turned the light back on the system itself. What we have seen here today, Moody said, is a condemnation of society as a whole.
Yeah, he didn't pull his punches. He included everyone in the failure. The probation officers, the police, the psychiatrist, and even the everyday citizens who saw red flags and stayed silent. He even placed himself in the collective pot for criticism as a judge and a lawyer. He was acknowledging that Robert Hansen wasn't just a monster who appeared out of this air. He was a monster who had been facilitated by the apathy and the biases of the institutions designed to stop him.
Judge Moody then addressed how Hansen chose his targets. He noted that Hansen preyed on those he thought society wouldn't miss, those from what he called the lower point of society. But Moody corrected that narrative immediately. He told the court that those women, despite the lives they were forced to lead, were angels compared to the man sitting before him.
It was a final judicial restoration of dignity to the women Hansen had spent years trying to erase. They weren't just street prostitutes or X's on a map. They were the victims of a society that turned a blind eye while a predator used its own failures as a hunting ground.
The judge's closing goal was simple: to ensure that the air Robert Hansen breathed for the rest of his life was prison air. He looked at the baker and told him flatly, "Sir, I have to consider you the worst offender in all respects."
Now, Judge Moody gave the prosecution everything. He didn't just give a life sentence. He stacked the maximum penalty for every single count until the number reached a staggering 461 years. It was a sentence meant to outlast the memory of the man himself.
As the gavel fell, the message was clear. Robert Hansen would never smell a mountain meadow again. He would never see the wild animals he loved to kill. He would remain behind bars until his body finally failed him, exactly as Frank Rothschild had requested. I still think it's too good for him. I don't know what.
There is.
How do you punish an evil person like that? They don't care. So there's really, if you think about it.
I just, when it comes to the sentencing, I'm very pleased with Rothschild calling out the situation and the people, the judge doing the same thing. They can't erase anything that happened. but at least it was fucking acknowledged of how everybody has blood in on their hands for this.
Yeah.
Did you find that Dr. Lewis interviewed Hansen in 1983? What?
I didn't know that, so I had to put that up because
I should probably cut out she's around.
Could you please go and do your magic and find those for us?
Yeah, I didn't see anything about Dr. Lewis in my notes. I doubt she got much or anything worthwhile, to be quite honest.
I would love to just hear his lies. I would love to just hear him try to explain.
But she probably, oh my God.
But then it's her.
Well, I was going to say, we'll read and listen to it, but I'll have lots to say.
Let's just say, I forgot. Yeah.
Now, after the sentencing, Sergeant Glenn Flothe, hosted a celebration dinner at the Corsair. The Corsair was an Anchorage institution, a basement hideaway that felt leagues away from the gritty streets of the Avenue. With its low ceilings, nautical rope, and wooden pulleys, it felt like the belly of an 18th century ship, which I want to go to. I doubt it's still around, but that sounds awesome.
No, you're not going to Alaska.
Now, it was a place of German comfort food, caviar, and high-backed booths, the perfect fortress for a group of people who had spent months living in the shadow of a serial killer.
The guest list was a testament to the strange. To the strange makeshift family that had formed around the case's star witness, Cindy Paulson. These were the people who had kept her alive when she was in her darkest days. There was Glenn's wife and Cindy's primary lifeline, who had answered frantic, middle-of-the-night phone calls for months, offering the steady maternal presence Cindy had lacked. There was the Roto-Rooter lady, who was the safe house operator who provided a roof and a lock when the world felt unsafe. And there was a woman from the Gentleman's Retreat massage parlor who had been the first to sound the alarm when Cindy's trauma sent her fleeing back into the night.
Now, while the adults around her celebrated a victory, Cindy Paulson sat in the middle of the bubble of voices, feeling like a ghost at her own feast. To everyone else, the case was closed and the monster was caged, but to Cindy, the finality of the sentencing was just the beginning of a terrifying void.
There's escargot on the menu with roasted quail and some kind of pate stuff, but I'm not hungry. I'm somewhere else. I'm thinking about my future. I've been a prostitute since I was still a child. What am I going to do next? I can't go back to what I was doing. It almost got me killed. That part of my life was over, or supposed to be over.
Now, at just 18 years old, she had survived a monster. But she was also a girl who had known nothing but the life since she was a child. The meek baker was going to prison, but Cindy was facing a different kind of life sentence. The struggle to reinvent a self that had been nearly erased in the back of a Piper Super Cub.
Recognizing that she could never truly heal on the streets of Anchorage, where every corner held a ghost, Cindy relocated to the lower 48. She chose the difficult path of total reinvention. Far from the Avenue, she built a life defined by the very things Hansen tried to take from his victims: stability, family, and a future.
And she eventually married and became a mother to 3 children. In creating a supportive and loving home, Cindy didn't just move on. She staged a quiet, powerful rebellion against the trauma of her youth. Every milestone of her children's lives served as a marker of her own resilience. Good for her.
I know your path does not have to define your future, people. And I think we forget that so often. And she's a testament. Yeah. Cindy's story has transcended her own life to become a cornerstone of advocacy for victims' rights. While she has largely avoided the spotlight, her survival remains a symbol of hope. She views her role with a profound, humble gravity. She doesn't see herself as a celebrity survivor, but as a witness with a divine mandate. I was made to do what I did. God put me here for a reason, to catch him. I did what I was supposed to do. I did God's will.
Now, she carries her survival, though, like a gigantic weight. The heavy responsibility of being the one who lived to tell the story that 17 other women could not. She is the living bridge between the horror of the Nick River and the justice of the courtroom. By surviving, she didn't just save herself. She ensured that the names of the X marks on Hansen's map would finally be heard. I love to see her smile too.
I do too, yeah. The transition from the sterile environment of the interrogation room to the rugged terrain of the Nick River was a logistical nightmare for Sergeant Glenn Flothy. While the confession provided the what, the where required putting the butcher baker back in the air, the very place where he felt most powerful.
Now, Sergeant Flothy was haunted by the psychological profile of the man he had spent months hunting. He knew that for Robert Hansen, control was everything. In a small state trooper Bell helicopter, Hansen would be inches away from the pilot, and Flothy's sleepless night was filled with a reoccurring vivid horror of Hansen reaching for the controls and the chopper spiraling towards the Alaskan permafrost and the killer laughing, the laugh of the howling dead as he took his captors with him in a final fiery act of defiance. That's probably what I'd be dreaming about too.
Like, that's what I would have been dreaming too.
My anxiety would have been like, that is definitely going to be what
I know. Flothy knew that to survive the trip, they needed distance and a physical barrier. He needed a Huey, a larger dual-pilot aircraft with a separate cabin. But he feared the bureaucracy. At $5,000 a day, he expected a firm no from the top brass, who are already eyeing the massive bill for the year-long investigation. Yeah, that would be hard to ask for.
I mean, $5,000 a day in 1984 is a lot of their budget.
Yeah.
I mean, even now it's a lot of a town's budget, but like that's a lot of money in 1984.
They're getting off cheap, in my opinion, but
really? In 1984?
No, they should have had to pay out millions.
Oh, I know.
Failure.
Okay. Yeah, I get what you're saying. That's true. That's a fair point. However, the climate of Trooper headquarters had shifted. The confession had changed everything. When Flothy approached Colonel Kolovsky, I hope that's right, expecting a fight for the budget, he was met with a surprising green light. Probably because you don't want Anchorage to be burning down your headquarters.
Yeah. The moment was captured by a rare gesture of departmental brotherhood. Kolovsky didn't just approve the rental, he acknowledged the monumental weight Flothy had been carrying. Anything you need, Glenn. Oh, and by the way, congratulations. Have a cigar. The cigar wasn't just a reward. It was a signal that the hunt was over and the recovery, the most somber part of a trooper's duty, was about to begin.
Now, as they flew over the map, pointing out the graves, Hansen spoke as if he was taking inventory of a warehouse. There's one here, one next to this tree, one under the road. Troopers searching for bodies, meanwhile, continued their fight with Mother Nature. The ground was still frozen 8 to 10 inches down, and they would soon learn that Hansen didn't bother to dig deep graves for his victims. He didn't have time for that. Sometimes he didn't bother with graves at all. In his haste, he simply left them where they fell. And here, his lack of respect had a silver lining, because bodies left on the ground were easier to find. And listen, if you don't live where the ground freezes, okay, you ain't doing nothing until like May. It's impossible to, like, you will break equipment trying to do that.
What's the warmest Alaska ever gets? Do we know?
I mean, I think they probably get into like 70s and 80s in July and August, I would think. But it's a very short time. Like even in April and May, it's still frozen. There's still snow everywhere. So they have just a very short window.
So it's kind of like Finland then. Just have a very small window.
Yeah. I only say that because some of the ones that did happen to be killed or disappeared in the summertime, they had mentioned the temperature was like in the 70s or 80s. I don't know if it's consistent or not. I don't know. But I know it's a very small window.
Like
they might, but maybe now. This was in 1984 with, global warming and shit. They might. I don't know. But it's a very, there's probably like a whole week out of the whole year I could visit Alaska and be like, okay, this is fine. Otherwise, it's too cold. No, thank you. I'm just kidding.
Oh, I don't mind it cold as long as it stays cold. Okay.
No, I think June, July, and August is reasonable, but I imagine that their fall probably starts a lot sooner. I don't know.
Kind of like in Texas. We don't have spring, we have summer. We go from winter to 90 degrees.
Sorry, I asked B to refill my drink because it was only like half gone. Oh boy, he made it quite strong. So I'm just.
Oh, is that what that face was for?
Yeah.
I thought you were doing that because of my 90 degrees. I'm like, girl.
No. No.
Now, on April 21st, 1984, the first breakthrough of the aerial search occurred near the Knik Arm Bridge. I think it's Malaya Larson, a 28-year-old who had been missing since July 1981, was the first to be brought home during this phase.
Hansen had directed the troopers to a parking area near the bridge, a location that really showed his brazenness, disposing of a human being so close to a site of public transit. Identified as his 10th victim, Malaya's recovery was the first domino to fall, proving that the X marks on the map were as accurate as they were lethal. Now, the recovery of Sue Luna on April 24th, 1984, was the moment the Butcher Baker moniker transitioned from a tabloid headline into a sickening physical reality for the recovery team. Sue was just 23 years old when she was reported missing in May of 1982. For 2 years, she was a name on a poster.
Hansen's confession regarding her death was uniquely cruel. He admitted to stripping her naked before releasing her into the dense Alaskan brush. He didn't just kill her. He hunted her like an animal. He gave her a head start, watching as she fled in a state of total vulnerability before tracking her through the spruce and silt. He ended the hunt with a single high-velocity gunshot.
Now, at first, during the search, troopers had found discarded clothing, and then a few days later, they discovered the first of her remains in the banks of Jim Creek, just east of the old Knik River Bridge. The recovery was agonizingly partial, as it was apparent that a bear had discovered the grave first.
In the 2 years since Hansen had discarded her, the natural world had begun to erase her. The forensic team was left to sift through the dirt for fragments of bone and teeth, fighting against a landscape that seemed determined to keep its secrets. I can't. Oh my God.
Now, on April 25th, 1984, the search shifted northwest of Anchorage to the rugged terrain near Palmer, Alaska. It was here, in the shadow of the Chugach Mountains near Horseshoe Lake and Little Susitna River, that the recovery team unearthed one of the most haunting mysteries of the entire case.
Hansen's account of his 12th victim's final moments was as cold as the glacial water nearby. He claimed he picked her up from downtown Anchorage during the winter of 1983. He flew her in his Piper Super Club to the remote lake, far from the eyes of the city. An autopsy later confirmed a brutal level of violence, as she had been both stabbed and shot.
Now, despite Hansen's claim that she was a sex worker, investigators could find no records to confirm her background. She carried no ID, no jewelry, and no clues to her former life. The forensic profile painted a picture of a life cut tragically short. She was a white woman, likely between the ages of 17 and 23, but there were no missing person reports from that era that matched her description.
Because no one came forward to claim her, Horseshoe Harriet was eventually laid to rest in the Anchorage Municipal Cemetery. She was buried under a headstone that marked her only as unknown. Sorry, guys. A silent testament to the woman who fell through the cracks of society and into the hands of a predator.
Now, for the investigators, Horseshoe Harriet represented the ultimate frustration of the Hansen case. Even with the killer standing right over her grave, the who remained out of reach. She became the face of the missing but not reported, the women whose lives were so marginalized that their disappearances didn't trigger a single phone call to the police.
Sorry about my dogs, guys. Hansen didn't know her name, and for over 30 years, neither did the rest of the world. She remained a ghost of the little Sistina, a reminder that the butcher baker didn't just take lives, he erased identities. I hate this man. I'm sorry. I hate him.
Mm-hmm. That I do too. But in October 2021, the silence was finally broken. Through the relentless advance of genetic genealogy, Horseshoe Harriet was finally given her real name, Robin Pelkey. The journey to find her began in earnest in 2014, when investigators exhumed her remains to create a DNA profile for the FBI's national database. When they failed to produce a hit, they turned to a private lab in 2020 for whole genome sequencing. By uploading her profile to public genealogy databases, investigators were able to do what 1980s technology could not. They built a family tree from the ground up.
The investigation traced a young woman born in Colorado in 1963. Robin's life was a map of movement and struggle. She lived in Anchorage in the late 1970s, moved to Arkansas as a teenager, and returned to Alaska in 1981 to live with her father and stepmother. By 1982, Robin was living on the streets of Anchorage, the exact hunting ground where Hansen scouted his problems. She vanished on July 19th, 1983.
Now, remember, Hansen said that he met her in the winter. Can't believe everything he says. Now, one of the most tragic, one of the most tragic revelations of Robin's identification was the reason she remained Harriet for so long. It's because she was never officially reported missing. Her parents, now deceased, never made the call. Whether it was due to a fractured family dynamic or the transient nature of her life on the streets, Robin Pelkey had simply slipped through the cracks of the system until she crossed paths with a monster at a lake.
I have to say, I don't fault her family if they knew she was living on the streets, homeless. You wouldn't necessarily report them missing. It happens more, and I have so many goosebumps more than people realize, especially back then when officers would just say, she's an adult.
Yeah.
She has the right to be gone.
Well, also, you kind of just like get a hold of everybody so easily, so.
The resolution of the case brought a somber peace to her surviving relatives in Arkansas and Alaska. While they requested privacy from the media, the identification allowed for a final symbolic act of justice.
The Alaska State Troopers purchased a new grave marker for Robin. The stone that once read unknown now bears her name, her birth date, and the recognition that she was someone's daughter, someone's sister, and a human being who mattered.
Good job, troopers. First time I'm going to tell you did something good.
I mean, it's true.
I do respect that. And yeah, somebody said it that they're impressed they found out who she was. Guys, we're going to start seeing a lot more of that with the way genealogy is progressing. So I'm sure we will be revisiting Robert Hansen. I can see in 2 years us coming back and more people being.
Yeah, if you think I'm done with this case, I am not.
We're going to take a break from Alaska for a month or two.
Me and Amy are going to be diving deep into missing people everywhere because there is.
We're going to start doing some missing people in Alaska, but we'll talk about that later. But the recovery mission continued on April 26, 1984, as the Huey helicopter banked toward the area surrounding Scenic Lake. For the investigators, the site offered a visceral look at the seasonal brutality of the Alaskan landscape and how it dictated the final indignities, thank you, Robert Hansen inflicted upon his victims.
Now, Teresa Watson was only 22 years old when she vanished from the streets of Anchorage on March 25th, 1983. For over a year, her family had lived with the silence of her disappearance. When Hansen led Sergeant Flothy and the team to Scenic Lake, he revealed a detail that really showed the cold-blooded nature of his crimes, as though we need more reasons, but this one's not great, that's for sure.
Yeah, I do have to just say you are right, Lady in Gray. I don't think we'll ever have an unknown soldier at Arlington.
Oh, I never thought about that, but
I agree. They will come first.
This is a side quest we're on here, but do you think they'll go back to try to identify?
I do think they will.
Oh, I never thought about that.
I do know that there's a couple of nonprofits that are raising money to do that because you have to pay for the exhumation,
right?
The testing, and you have to get, once you find out who it is, you have to get some permission. I mean, there's some legal stuff around it, but yes, we will start seeing more of that.
Oh, wow. Wow. Never thought about that.
I have so many goosebumps right now.
Glad to know.
Yeah. So because Teresa was taken in late March, the Alaskan interior was still locked in a deep subarctic freeze.
Yes.
Hansen admitted to the team that after abducting and killing her, He found the grant was like granite. It's frozen, dude. Unable to dig a grave in the permafrost, Hansen didn't seek a different location. He simply abandoned her body exactly where she had died, leaving her to the elements and the winter snow. It wasn't until 13 months later, with Hansen himself pointing at the thawing brush, that Teresa was finally found.
By leaving her above ground in a remote area during the spring thaw, he relied on the vastness of the wilderness to hide his tracks. Standing at Scenic Lake, the investigators saw the reality of Teresa's final moments. A young woman taken from the city and discarded in a place where the very earth refused to take her in, as well as it's spring. So wildlife is going to be coming out of hibernation. I know it's very dark to think about, but that is how Alaska is.
Well, but it's also
Respectfully,
how the circle of life works. I mean,
respectfully, you know.
respectfully, it
So
does. Her recovery brought the official count of identified victims higher, but it also deepened the heavy atmosphere of the mission. Each X on the map was no longer a coordinate. It was a person like Teresa, whose life had been interrupted by a man who saw her only as a problem to be discarded.
now, on April 29th, 1984, so this is all, I don't know if you guys have been keeping track of the dates, but we're like in about 7 days since they've started to recover the bodies. And each day they're getting some. The recovery mission returned to the familiar silty banks of the Nick River. For the investigators, the search for 20-year-old Tammy Pedersen represented the closing of a circle and the confrontation of a community's simmering resentment.
Side question, you keep calling it the Nick River, and when I asked my friend from Canada, he said it was the Knik River.
Oh,
So I
really?
need to know which one is right.
Oh, I don't know. I just pronounced Nick like, the
You told me it was the Knik because it's
Canadian. Well,
no,
it's not. It's in Alaska.
It's not, but no, I don't want to say Indian, indigenous. It's there's a reason behind it.
Oh, no. And you're just now telling me on the last episode, Terry?
Well, because I talked to them today after I slaughtered names on Midday Missing, and she heard my slaughtering of stuff because we covered Canada today.
Oh, well, in fairness, I thought it was like, the New York Knicks.
Yeah, she told me to think of, and I thought it was funny, Kaniki from Greece. She goes, think of Kaniki. I was like, okay.
Well, that makes sense. But
I just thought maybe you saw something different.
No, that was just my own interpretation. I thought it was
because I would have thought it would have been
forward.
Like the Knicks too.
Yeah. Okay. Well, you know what? I apologize to the good people of Alaska, to everybody else, meaning the investigators from this case. I don't care.
But you know what? Everybody has their own pronunciations where I live. You've got multiple people, Waxahachie, Waxahachie. It's all good.
So, we're all talking about the same place. It's fine.
Now, Tammy had been missing for over a year. Another name on the long list of young women who had vanished into the Anchorage night. It wasn't until Robert Hansen sat in the Huey helicopter, tracing the terrain with a cold, practiced finger, that her location was finally revealed. You know what? I hate the fact he's getting off on this and flying that fancy helicopter.
I know.
That just hit me. And I've already read all this, and that just hit me. He's getting a kick out of it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. I know. Now, her body was discovered just 1.5 miles from the old Knik Bridge in a landscape as vast as Alaska. She had been discarded in a place that thousands of people drove past every week. A testament to Hansen's ability to hide his problems in plain sight.
He got lucky.
Yeah.
The recovery of Tammy Pedersen brought a different kind of tension to the case. While the investigators felt a grim sense of professional accomplishment, Tammy's family was grappling with a complex bundle of grief and anger. Her stepfather became the voice for many in Anchorage who felt the system had failed its most vulnerable citizens. He had a pointed public fury directed at the police. I'm right there with you, sir.
Mm-hmm.
To the Pedersen family, Robert Hansen wasn't a ghost. He was a man with a prior record and a known tail number who they believe should have been stopped years before Tammy ever crossed his path.
Mm-hmm.
And they are not wrong.
Remember, she's the one where her family moved to Alaska
to look for her.
To look for her because the police were dicking them around. And that's crazy. You know?
Do you know how to say this word?
Yes, Lady in Gray taught me. It's apple at ya. I don't, that's what she says, but whatever.
It is the
Appalachia, but whatever. It's fine. Okay.
I mean, you could also say Appalachian. I don't think anybody will get on to you except for.
Oh, really? Have you met Lady in Gray?
She will. For Lady in the Gray, but she lives up there.
I'm just kidding. No, she taught it that way, and I do remember it every time because she was like, "Remember, apple at ya, like throwing an apple at ya."
Just like a chefalaya is not atchafalaya; it's a chefalaya.
What does even that mean?
It's a Cajun.
Now you're just making up words.
If Buffy was here, she would have my back and she would know. And even Polly. There's the Ashepaliah River.
Oh, okay. All right. Now, standing at the recovery site, the investigators had to face the reality that for families like the Petersons, justice felt like an afterthought. The 461 years plus life sentence didn't bring Tammy back. And it didn't erase the years of wondering where she was.
Can't undo that shit, people.
Mm-mm.
The discovery of Tammy Pedersen proved that Hansen's map was a reliable guide to his atrocities. But it also highlighted the permanent scar he had left on the families of Anchorage. A scar made deeper by the belief that their daughters might still be alive if the butcher baker had been caught just one victim sooner.
Or be in prison where he was supposed to be.
Did you, in your
little do they
research,
know.
Did any cops get fired? Did any psychiatrists that testified for him lose their license? Was anyone held accountable for their failures? Anyone?
No. Nobody. None. The only person held accountable for anything was Robert Hansen.
I mean, did John lose his business? Did people stop doing business with him? Did he lose all of his insurance?
I know. No. As far as I know, nothing came of anything. Because of course. Because I mean, they didn't want to talk about it, but we'll get to that in our closing thoughts. I'll tell you that. Now, the recovery of Angela Lynn Federin on April 29th, 1984, brought the mission to a small unnamed lake near the larger Figure 8 lake. For the investigators, Angela's story was a quintessential example of how the butcher baker exploited the vulnerabilities of the Anchorage streets and the heartbreaking reality of those left behind. Oh, Angela's story makes me so sad.
I know, and I'm sorry. I have a little small fly. Angela was 24 years old when she was last seen on 4th Avenue in February 1983. To her sister, Angela wasn't just a missing person or a statistic. She was a woman caught in the orbit of an addiction that dictated her life.
Now, the tragedy of Angela's death was sharpened by a broken promise. Her sister had begged her to leave the streets of Alaska and return to the safety of the Seattle area. Angela had agreed, but with one fatal condition, quote, one last trip to Anchorage. And she never made it back to Washington.
The recovery of Angela Federin at Figure 8 Lake provided a grim relief for a family that had been suspended in the unknown since her disappearance was finally reported in May of 1983. Her mother was overwhelmed by a grief that was beyond consolation, yet voiced a painful realism to the press in an Associated Press story titled, "Daughter's Death. Some relief, no surprise." She acknowledged the life Angela led with a heavy heart, noting that her daughter just couldn't find it in herself to go out and get a thinking job.
It's probably not the greatest way to phrase that.
I was like, I don't like that, but as a mom who is dealing with that, I am going to give her all of the grace, and words are hard, especially when you've got all those feelings.
Yeah, I don't like the mother's comment about a thinking job, but the fact that the article was titled "Some Relief but No Surprise." I mean, that's when you have a loved one that is in the throes of addiction. You are literally worried about them dying all the time. All the time. And as a matter of fact, sometimes you pray that they just get put in jail just to know that they're somewhere safe, because it's horrible to think jail is a safer place.
Yeah.
But it is when they're in the throes of addiction and you're worried about them being, because listen, there are hardly good success stories out there. You either go to jail, you end up dead, or you are able to get clean, and it's going to take years to clean up the mess. It just doesn't go away. And so I do give her grace for that.
I do. And society never seems to let them move on.
No, not at all. Not at all. And I mean, it doesn't sound like they have the greatest dynamic.
Yeah, it doesn't.
But that's really, quite frankly, none of our business. So,
yeah.
But, obviously her mom is devastated this happened to her. And I think it's not like she's being like, well, that's what she got. It didn't seem like her mother was that kind of, no matter how much that article tried to make her seem like that, by the way.
I think if we think of the time and you're thinking about what the mother, in my thought, when I heard that or read it the first time, I was like, oh, she's thinking that she does something not with her body, not dancing, not volleyball, not basketball, not a sport, something in an office, something with numbers, something like that is how she was.
Well, if I recall, because there's so many victims and I don't remember all their details, but I believe Angela also had a daughter. I want to say she had a 4-year-old daughter, Christine. 2 of these women have daughters.
2 of them,
I believe
have
Angela
daughters?
is one of them. Yeah, I believe it was her, had one of them.
Okay, so, I was thinking she was, okay.
I think.
Okay.
Again, there's so many of them that unfortunately I've kind of, I've been deep in all of this, that trying to keep all the facts about each individual person has been
the fact
hard,
that there's so many.
But yeah,
just awful.
Yeah, it's so sad. It's so sad. But anyway, as to go on. Now, Angela's sister was a no-nonsense realist who refused to be intimidated by the investigators or the stigma surrounding the case. She had seen the drugs drive Angela to the avenue and lived with the helplessness of watching someone she loved slide into a world controlled by predators like Hansen.
Her discovery closed one more file in the trooper's cabinet, but it left a permanent empty chair at a table in Seattle. A reminder that the butcher baker didn't just kill women. He severed the threads of families who had never stopped hoping for a different kind of ending.
Now, Hansen led the Huey helicopter to a desolate area south of the former Kinnick Arm Bridge. There, next to a stark gray gravel pit, oh, another one, what? He pointed to the earth. Unlike the victims he abandoned in the frozen bush, the women had been buried. Or the woman had been buried. On May 9th, 1984.
Oh.
Are we going to say that's you? I'm sorry.
That's okay.
I was just so eager.
It's okay. On May 9th, 1984, the recovery mission reached a somber milestone with the discovery of Lisa Futrell. At 41 years old, Lisa was older than many of the Avenue girls Hansen targeted, and her disappearance had remained a cold, agonizing mystery for nearly 4 years.
Now, she had been missing since September 6, 1980, 4 years. Hansen had met Lisa at the nightclub where she worked, and he used his meek Baker persona to build a momentary bridge of trust, a facade that vanished the moment she was inside his vehicle.
The recovery of Lisa Futrell was a visceral victory for the Alaska State Troopers. It proved that Hansen's memory, though chillingly clinical, was accurate, even for crimes committed years prior. For Lisa's colleagues and friends at the nightclub, the news brought a definitive, if heartbreaking, end to what if.
Now, Delynn Sugar Renee Frey was only 22 years old when she vanished from the Anchorage streets in March 1983. During his rambling confession, Hansen spoke of her with a chilling, predatory detachment, as he did with everybody, really. But to him, she wasn't a young woman from the islands of Hawaii. She was simply number 9 on his aviation map, a coordinate tucked inside. Go ahead and say it, Terry. I hate this.
I hate him.
I hate him so much.
I try so hard to not hate. I do.
It's fine.
But sometimes I hate him. I truly hate him. And I hope everything bad happened to him in the end. So he described a high-stakes winter flight, landing his Piper Super Cub on skis in the final months of the Alaskan winter. Sound like he's bragging to anybody else or just me?
Yes, I agree.
Yeah. He admitted he hadn't even bothered to bury her. He had left her on a remote sandbar, treating her with the same lack of regard he showed for the game he hunted in the mountains.
And for 2 years, Delynn remained exactly where Hansen had discarded her. And it wasn't until August 20th, 1985, this is a whole year after they looked for the women and Hansen had been since, a whole year, that a local pilot practicing landings and testing new Tundra tires spotted something on a Knik River sandbar.
If any pilots happen to see this in Alaska and you want to let us get together search missions, I think there's a lot of area of Alaska that needs to be searched.
So much. We'll get into that for sure.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying it needs to be done. Because she had not been reported missing immediately, and because the connection to Hansen's map hadn't been fully solidified for this specific X, she was buried in an Anchorage cemetery as a Jane Doe, which pisses me off.
Me too. Because, like, what? You find a dead woman in anywhere in the wilderness, your first thought should be Robert fucking Hansen. I don't understand how this even happened.
Any bone you find in Alaska anywhere, you should immediately think it needs to be checked against Robert Hansen's victims and missing women.
This really pisses me off because it's like they learn nothing.
Oh, we know that from that documentary we watched.
Yeah, I know.
It seemed she was destined to be another forgotten statistic of the Avenue. God, I hate these people. The girls. I hate Alaska cops.
It's just another disservice
It
to
is.
these women. I'm not even going to bother looking into who this person could possibly be. I
No,
can't be bothered. And it's
they're
disgusting.
exactly. They're inconsequential. Oh, that's not a bother. Like the spider you just killed, they have that much care about these women.
Pretty
Not at
much.
all.
And that's it. And quite frankly, that's proof of that. I mean, listen, this is a remote location. You find a dead body in a remote location. That person didn't just wander there. You
Exactly.
literally had to fly to where
Mhm,
that person is.
mhm,
Which then, if that person is dead there and there's no plane around, then how
mhm.
did they get there? But nobody wanted to be bothered asking any fucking
Did they check
questions.
to see if there's any remote cabins? Check those cabins, see if there had been yeah, they didn't. They
That
didn't
makes me
give a
so mad.
flying F.
No, they didn't. Now, the breakthrough didn't come until 1989, 4 years after her discovery and 5 years after Hansen's sentencing. An Alaska state trooper, meticulously reviewing case files, recognized a piece of jewelry and a crime scene photo. Excuse me, it was a smoking gun that linked the Jane Doe from the sandbar to the missing reports for Delynn Frey. 4 years. It took somebody to fucking look in a file.
Wow.
I mean, I'm glad he
I'm
did, but
glad he did.
also, what? Again,
Yeah,
how was Robert Hansen knowing he had so many victims that were not
exactly.
accounted for?
And that's the thing that's so hard. How? You do not find and you identify it as a female, you would think their first thought would be like, "Oh shit, we found one of Hansen's victims."
Yeah.
That would be my first thought.
And it's literally at the Connect River where
With
there's like 8 other buried women. It's not like,
and
oh,
they
it's
know there's
over in
still
this
so
far
many
part.
unidentified.
Yes.
Yeah, I
Yes.
don't.
Makes me so
Yeah,
angry.
yeah.
Makes me so mad.
Robert Hansen should be thankful he never sat face to face with Llama.
That's true.
Because Llama, I have to tell you, I don't wanna know what would come out of Llama
That's
if he
true.
was sitting in front of her. I think it would be something we would never expect.
Probably. I might take his head and
Ex
just bash it on the
exactly, Betty.
table.
Were they not even curious? That's
No.
how do you just bury up under Jane Doe when you've got a list of unknown women?
Unbelievable. Unbelievable.
And you had a piece of jewelry, you didn't even have to do DNA, you just had to look at the crime scene photos and go, "Oh, that matches this." Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, go ahead, I'll just stop.
It's
The
infuriating.
conclusion I'm sorry, the conclusion of Dylan's story is one of the few moments of grace in a narrative defined by darkness. Her family had spent years in the warmth of Kailua Kona, Hawaii, waiting for news that felt further and further away with every Alaskan winter.
Now, when the identification was finally confirmed, her family made sure that the butcher baker would not have the final say in her story. Her remains were cremated and returned to the Hawaiian Islands. She was removed from the cold, dark silt of the Knik River to the sun-drenched shores she once called home, finally finding the peace that Robert Hansen had tried so hard to steal. Now, next is Roxanne Eastland was 24 years old when she disappeared on June 28th, 1980. In the early years of Hansen's spree, she was a name that haunted the avenue, a woman who simply stepped out of her life and into the void.
During his confession, Hansen admitted to her murder. He provided details, he gave a general area, and he sat in the Huey helicopter looking down at the green canopy of the forest. But despite the maps and the aerial searches, the earth remained closed. No remains, No clothing and no forensic trace of Roxanne have ever been recovered. She remains a permanent X on the map, a confession without a conclusion. That's heartbreaking. Doesn't mean that she won't be found. There's still that hope. There is still that hope.
That's true. Now, perhaps the most chilling of the unrecovered victims is 24-year-old Andrea Mona Altieri, known to her friends as Fish. She was last seen on December 2nd, 1981, boarding a taxi for the Boniface Mall, but she never arrived.
When investigators finally breached Hansen's home, they found the smoking gun of her disappearance. Hidden among Hansen's possessions was a fish-shaped necklace. It was a trophy of a life he had stolen and a direct link to a woman he claimed he had never met.
Now, Hansen's account of Andrea's final moments was a descent into pure malice. He used a gun to force her into his vehicle, blindfolding and handcuffing her before driving to a service road off of the Palmer Highway. He claimed that after he assaulted her, Andrea fought back. In response, he executed her with a .22 Browning automatic pistol. And in a calculated move to ensure she was never found, Hansen didn't use a shallow grave. He weighted a duffel bag with heavy river gravel, tied it to Andrea, and threw her off the Nick Arm Bridge into the churning, silt-laden waters below. What an asshole.
Yeah, I don't like him. Because of the immense tidal pool and the thick, opaque silt of the Knik Arm, recovery was impossible. Divers and sonar sweeps yielded nothing. Andrea Fish Altieri remains lost to the currents, her memory preserved only by the silver necklace found in a killer's attic and the testimony of the man who threw her away.
Now, for the families of Roxanne and Andrea, the end of the Hansen case brought a different kind of sentence, a lifetime of the never found. Their stories remind us that even with a full confession, a serial killer can still keep the ultimate secret. Guess what? This was my face the entire time I was writing all this.
Oh,
just disgust and huffing the whole time.
Reading it and going through it, I was like, Llama has got to be raging.
Yeah. Now you guys know why I went and bought a bottle of vodka for all this.
And she finished it in a month, guys.
Oh, don't make it sound like I'm drinking all the time. That's not true.
Well, but we were doing 3 or 4 shows a week.
Yeah, okay.
Plus researching, writing. Yeah, girl.
Okay, that's true. That's what we're doing.
You deserve it. You deserve it. Okay? As the legal dust settled and the forensic teams packed their gear, a profound and unsettling silence fell over Anchorage. The butcher baker was behind bars, but the city seemed to be looking away. It was this collective amnesia that began to weigh on the conscience of a local hairstylist named Jan Martin.
Now, Jan didn't know the victims. She wasn't part of the avenue or the nightlife scene. She was a happily married woman who realized that the community's reaction to the 17 murders was fundamentally broken. While the city had erupted in grief over other local tragedies, the reaction to Hansen's victims was muted, as if their fringe lifestyles made their violent ends an expected occupational hazard. That's right, guys. Nobody gave a shit.
Is bullshit.
After finding out the truth of everything that happened, literally nobody cared.
And I'm going to just say to everybody in that community that felt that way, shame on you.
Mm-hmm. Not
shame
Jan.
on you.
Jan's
Not
a
Jan,
hero.
but the rest of them, shame on you.
Jan's on our good list of like 5 people.
I was success.
Isn't a shitbag in the story.
Yeah. 17 people died. And other than the morbid aspects of it, nobody really cares, she thought. It could have been me. It could have been you. It could have been a bank full of people.
Now, bugged by her own conscience, Martin decided to do what the institutions had not. She organized a memorial. Working with the police, she reached out to the families of the identified victims. She found parents still reeling from grisly media reports that focused more on their daughters' professions than on their humanity.
Pam, I think that's the only way I'm going to Alaska is for an ass whooping trip.
Right? I'm going to raise some hell in Alaska.
We're going to raise some hell.
Oh.
Through these conversations, Martin began to see the human dimension of the tragedy, the little things that made them people, not just X's on a map. She realized that for many of these women, this service would be the only funeral they would ever have.
Now, led by Archbishop Francis Hurley and local reverends, the memorial included psalm readings and a message of compassion. The service was held for both those women who have been found and for those who have not been found.
I better find out at the end of this Jan got a key to the city or the state.
She should have.
Okay.
She should have ran the city. At least
she should have ran it.
Somebody that cared.
Jan Martin's initiative served as a mirror to the city. She challenged the idea that some lives are less worthy of mourning than others. By honoring the victims of Robert Hansen, she forced Anchorage to acknowledge that these weren't just prostitutes or runaways. They were daughters and sisters whose last weeks on earth were horrific and who deserved far more than to be forgotten.
Quote, I don't really care if there are more than 5 people who showed up, said Martin. If they're just thinking about it, it's important in this city that you care about people who die, end quote. The memorial was a small but vital victory for empathy over apathy. It ensured that as the story of the butcher baker transitioned into history, the focus remained where it belonged, on the humanity of the women he tried to erase.
As nearly 200 people gathered in downtown Anchorage Park for the memorial on June 6, 1984, the distinction between the respectable public and the women of the avenue began to dissolve into a shared sense of human grief. For many attendees, the service was deeply personal. Women like Jeannie Holobic and Dottie spoke to the thin line between their lives and the lives of those on Robert Hansen's map.
Just want to say hello to On Top X. Haven't seen you forever, good sir.
Seen you in a while.
Hope you're doing well. Congratulations on your memberversary for 6 months. Hope you're doing well. Hope you're doing well, good sir. Now, quote, I'm a woman and so were they, said Jenny Holobeck, a woman centers volunteer who came to mourn. I know women who dance. Sometimes we do things that don't meet with the approval of others, but we do what we have to do to get by. There, before the grace of God, go I, end quote. Then, quote, we were sisters in a way, said a woman who identified herself only as Dottie, a performer at a local dancing establishment. This thing could have happened to any one of us, end quote.
I'm sorry, it just infuriates me.
Oh, I know.
People want to cast all of this shame on these women. Who do you think's paying to go and see them?
Exactly.
And that's the part that just really bothers me.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
Archbishop Francis Hurley addressed the gulf that society had created between the victims and the rest of the community. In his homily, he didn't just ask for prayer. He demanded a shift in how the city viewed the dead. He pushed back against the stigma of their lifestyles, insisting that compassion begins with the simple realization that they were human beings. He even challenged the crowd to find a path towards forgiveness, not just for the women, but eventually for the man who had torn the community apart.
People are better than I am because I ain't forgiving that mofo. Let me tell you what.
Archbishop, I'm going to have to go to confession on Sunday, and I know it is Easter Sunday, but I'm not there. I'm sorry. I'm not a good Catholic. I can't. That path to forgiveness, Robert Hansen. No.
I'm fine. I'm fine with it. I'm fine with how I feel about him. Now, after the service, family members hugged friends and each other and thanked the many strangers who joined them. Quote, "I don't know why so many people showed up," said Dave Moorhead, a brother-in-law of Sue Luna. "I guess they all wanted to show they care, and it makes you feel good. Real good." End quote.
While the Park Service offered a public goodbye, the reality of the Anchorage Municipal Cemetery remained a mess of administration failures.
No surprise. Okay, because of course.
Surprise. Friends like Laura Tripp and Doreen Cox faced a grueling battle just to find where their friend Paula Goulding was laid to rest. Even after identification, Paula was still listed in city records as unidentified. When a marker was finally placed, her name was spelled incorrectly.
Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Seriously.
She was one of the original four.
And when you noticed it, why didn't you fix it? Sorry. Making the grave impossible to find during a blind April snowstorm. Like DeLynn Frey, Paula had roots in Hawaii. She had only been in Alaska for 3 weeks and had planned to return home the very day she was murdered. Remember, she wanted to get the hell out of Alaska, guys. Her friend's wish to scatter her ashes at sea was blocked by red tape regarding potential relatives who didn't exist.
Isn't cute? Man, just when you think Alaska, maybe we can change. Nope. No.
Guys, it's 2026. And it's April Fool's Day, but it is no April Fool's that Alaska has not changed. If you believe they have learned from their mistakes, April Fool's on you.
Spoilers, they haven't. Trust us on that. Now,
thank you.
I found this op-ed in it because I literally read every newspaper article in Anchorage, Alaska from the years of 1970 to 1984.
You did log into our newspaper account, and I'm like, oh,
does it tell you? Does it show?
Does.
I didn't know that.
It does, and I'm like, I'm trying to just find the ones I read.
I'm like, no.
Yeah, no, it's okay because you just put in a keyword. But yeah.
I didn't know that.
You were reading, girl.
I literally read everything. I had like 400 pages of research for this story.
It's good.
So I found this op-ed in the newspaper from Mary Pat Haberl, who's going on our good Haberly, maybe. Oh, maybe. On June 12th, 1984, she goes on our good people list, or my good people list, by the way. And I wanted to read to show more of the members of the community and their viewpoint about how things are being handled. And I say this because if you go reading all of the newspaper articles, there is a lot of bias, a lot of covering asses, And that's what made researching very difficult, was actually getting to the truth because of things that would be left out, if you
Did you
will, or
most of the reporters for the newspaper were males?
exactly.
I
Yes.
think you
Yes.
noticed because when I was looking, I was like, "Really?
Yes.
Really? Can I find
Yes.
one that a woman wrote?"
Yeah, there wasn't very many. I'll tell you that. I know. I read them all. Now, so I found this one and I just wanted to read it in its entirety
Yes.
because it just shows what a person from the community, a woman specifically at that time, who had went to this event, this memorial, felt about it. So this is what she had to say. And quite frankly, I appreciate the balls Mary Pat has
Mhm.
of writing the op-ed to the newspaper during the Times.
Mhm.
Good job, Mary. She said, I would like to comment on the memorial service of Tamra Joy Peterson, Sue Luna, Paula Goulding, Sherry Morrow, Joanna Messina, Angela Federin, Malaya Larson, and for those who are lost and not yet found. And on the daily news coverage of the service by Larry Campbell and Greg Anderson, which is where I got a lot of that information we just read to you. Just by the way, the difference in viewpoints here is interesting. She goes and says, I hope that the families and close friends of these young women received the emotional support they needed. I was glad to see that so many people came to remember the personhood of each of the victims. And I am thankful to the individual, that's you, Jan. Well, okay, maybe this part's not you, but probably from the audience who led us in speaking the victims' names out loud, and to the woman who sang a song of peace and love to close. I am at the same time very angry at Archbishop Hurley's insensitive and inappropriate remarks during the service. You see, guys, two very different viewpoints of this memorial, telling us that if we hadn't had good families and good friends, we might have walked the path of sin like these young ladies, was a slap in the face to the friends and families of the women who were brutally murdered. Murdered not because of what they did for a living, but because they trusted a man who was not safe. The clergyman on the stage, like the man who wrote the news article in which he categorized some of the women in the audience as those, quote, who take their clothes off for $20, end quote. Yes, he wrote that because I fucking read it. Cannot understand what it means to all women to live daily with the threat of violence to their person solely because of their gender. What we choose to do for a living or what circumstances force us to do for a living has nothing to do with it. So long as men such as Robert Hansen or Archbishop Hurley or the reporters for the Daily News separate women into good girls and bad girls, with the implication that bad girls only get what they deserve, we will all live with this constant fear. Because the only thing more terrifying than the threat to ourselves is the horror of having it happen to our sisters or daughters or mothers or friends. And my heart and prayers go out to those who lost their loved ones. Mic drop for Mary is all I got to say. Bravo, sister. Bravo. And I'm so sorry, Mary. Guess what? Nothing's changed in 42 years. But you're right. You're right.
Archbishop, I hope that he was saying, well, it's the Catholic diocese. They didn't do shit.
Well, here's
they didn't
right. Like, let's get.
I'm like, wait, what am I talking
Check
about?
your own shit, Hurley. No, but what is frustrating, and her point exactly, is we've learned so much about Hansen. This is stuff Mary didn't know yet that we know.
Not yet. She didn't even know this shit.
She didn't even know. She didn't even know most of this stuff. And she could see it plain as day. All right. But Hansen, guess what he did? He separated women into Madonnas and whores, good girls, bad girls. And so when society does that too.
Mm-hmm.
They're just giving people like that the go-ahead.
Mm-hmm. But to assume that a person who works as an exotic dancer, a topless dancer, a nude dancer, didn't come from a good family or have friends is total bullshit.
Mm-hmm.
And as an archbishop, you should be better than to judge people like that, sir.
Last time I checked, and Jesus isn't my thing, but last time I checked, he was friends with the prostitutes, if I remember church camp very well in Sunday school, but that's just, what do I know?
Should remember that it was an archbishop. No, it was a cardinal that told me when I wanted to get divorced because of being beaten. His comment was, well, have you thought about what you're doing that causes him to react that way?
Gross.
So I should say, I'm not surprised with the archbishop. I shouldn't be, because he's part of the problem.
I savage. No, and that's why for that particular section, that Jan and Mary, Jan and Mary, they're two different. You're on our list of amazing fucking people, because you did what the other people that should have been doing didn't fucking bother to do, and good on you. There are good people in Alaska. By the way, I know we have shit a lot on Alaska. There are good people who live there that will do the right things.
And Alaska are good. Women in Alaska are good. Yeah, he did. Petty Ross. He did. If you ever want to hear that saga, let me know and I'll do a special about it, because I have no problem telling you about that story. But, and I want everybody to stop and think of what the times were like back then. For her to do an op-ed back in 1984, 1985?
Yeah. 1984.
Guys, that took some nads.
I just want to say, I'll probably talk about this later in closing, that so far, almost all of the heroes in this story are women. With the exception of Officer Baker and
I need Officer Baker to
Hogsman.
change his last name so he's not part of Butcher Baker, because every time I see Baker, I just instantly go, oh, shithead. Yeah. But then I'm like, oh, wait, no, he's the good Baker.
He's the good one. All right. Well, let's keep going. We're almost to the point of being
While the legal system was meticulously cataloging the X marks in the wilderness, a different kind of wreckage was being unearthed inside the family home on Old Arbor Road. For Darla Hansen, the meat baker's wife, the horror didn't arrive all at once in a courtroom. It arrived in the form of a small, tangible objects found in the corners of her own life. The moment the facade truly crumbled for Darla was at 4:10 p.m. on April 25th, 1984, when Sergeant Glenn Flothy arrived at the house. In an encounter that must have been thick with unspoken tension, Darla handed over the final proof that her husband was a stranger. Darla knew these weren't hers. In the silence of her Muldoon home, she had to face the fact that these were trophies, items taken from women who would never go home. They were Bob's women, and they were dead.
Did I not write that they're rings? Am I not seeing the word? Okay, well, I apologize. What she found were 2 or 3 rings and a gold nugget belonging. They were not hers. My apologies for not writing that in there.
That's okay. The fallout for the Hansen children was immediate and cruel.
Oh.
And shame on anyone for shaming the children. That just pisses me off too. They became the innocent casualties of their father's infamy. At school, they faced relentless bullying, branded by a surname that had become synonymous with a monster. They weren't just losing a father to prison. They were losing their safety, their privacy, and guys, their childhood. They were children. Darla, the woman who had once leaned on her faith to save her husband from his vices, finally reached her breaking point. The transition from loyal wife to survivor was swift. She officially severed her ties to the man she had lived with for over 20 years. The bakery, the center of their lives, and the source of his community standing was closed forever. The house in Muldoon was sold. Seeking a life where her children wouldn't be defined by the butcher baker, Darla moved the family to Arkansas. In the hills of Arkansas, closer to her own family, Darla sought the semblance of peace that Anchorage could no longer provide. She left behind the silt of the Connect River and the dark secrets of the attic, taking her children into a quiet anonymity. Robert Hansen was left alone in his cell, a man who had not only destroyed 17 other families, but had effectively erased his own.
I'll tell you what, my heart goes out to Darla and the kids. It really
It
does.
does.
I mean,
and
for Darla to dedicate 20 years of her life she gave to that fucking piece of shit.
And guys, he was a manipulator. He manipulated her too.
Absolutely.
She took her vows serious. Got some arson things, but they let him. I mean, she did.
I can't blame her for literally anything.
I do not blame her for anything, and her poor children.
And because of all of of Alaska's fuck ups, why wouldn't she believe his bullshit?
Exactly.
It all added up, Like my heart goes out to Darla and the kids, and I just feel awful.
I hope because they have to live treating them well, and I hope they change their names.
They're very they were fairly easy-ish to find, but respectfully, I didn't care to mention their names.
They didn't change their names.
I don't want to say.
You don't want to say.
I just want to say that I did not want to put their names anywhere.
Nope.
I did not want to put their pictures anywhere because they deserve privacy. Mm-hmm. They had no choice of who their father was.
Guys. They are victims just like all of the women.
But they've chosen to remain in private. And I think, in a day and age where it is easy to find people, you should respect their wanting for privacy. So that's why I have made sure to never say their names or show their pictures, or because they were very young when this happened.
They were. As I said, I hope they have good lives now.
Listen, Darla sounds like an amazing mother.
She does.
She was doing what all she had to do. So I am sure that it seems like the children grew up well. So.
Well, just so you know, darling children, if you ever come across this, we are on your side.
That's right.
We're on your side.
We are. But, in situations like this, society is quick then to attack the families. How could you not know?
I know, but that is wrong.
It
is such bullshit.
And sometimes they do know. But more often than not,
the Duger families.
They don't know. Right. More often than not, though, they do not know. Now, the final chapter of Robert Hansen's life was defined not by the vast open skies he once commanded, but by the shrinking walls of a cell and the slow clinical decline of his own body. Yay.
I know, I'm like, I shouldn't celebrate that, but I kind of am.
I'm going to. It's fine. Following his sentencing, Hansen was initially sent far from the Alaska tundra to the U.S. Penitentiary in Lewisburg, Pennsylvania. However, by 1988, he was returned to the state where his crimes had been committed to serve out his life sentence at the Spring Creek Correctional Center in Seward, of all places.
Of all places.
Of all places. which is, it surprised me when that was like, I didn't even know they had a prison there because it's a very small, nice community. I was
Small.
surprised.
But isn't it on the other end from where
Yeah.
the girl went to go do the laundry? And it's on
I mean,
if
the
you look
other
at
end, but like barely.
well, but you could walk. It's 5 minutes, right?
Yeah.
But yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
What I'm saying is, it's too beautiful of an area
it is
to
for
have a
him.
prison with this fuck face in it. I guess that's what I'm saying.
But the karma that he is locked in there and
Mhm.
he can enjoy the outdoors is kind of good.
Yeah.
There was a profound, dark irony in his placement at Spring Creek. The high security facility sat just miles away from the X marks in Resurrection Bay, the burial sites he had hinted at but refused to ever fully explain. He was forced to spend decades staring out of the very wilderness he had used as hunting grounds. A predator now permanently held in a cage of concrete and steel. And I
Now,
hope no heat.
right. I bet prison sucks in Alaska, to be quite honest with you. I hear it sucks here in the wintertime. It's not even as cold there.
Well, in Texas, they don't have AC in our
Yeah,
prisons,
that's
and it gets over 100.
which I'll be honest is, well, whatever. I'm not going to voice my opinions right now. Now's not the time. Llama. Let's get
I
back to the
normally
story.
wouldn't, but I think Robert Hansen deserves to not have.
Yeah, he's a shitbag. Now, by May 2014, the man who had prided himself on his physical stamina and his ability to navigate the brutal Alaskan elements began to wither. At 75 years old, plagued by lingering medical conditions, the butcher baker was moved from the prison to the Anchorage Correctional Complex and eventually to the Alaska Regional Hospital.
On August 21st, 2014, Robert Hansen died of natural causes. There was no final hunt, no dramatic standoff, and no grand gesture of repentance. He died in a sterile hospital bed, the silence of the Knik River replaced by the rhythmic hum of medical monitors.
Now, with his death, many feared that the locations of his unrecovered victims would be lost forever. Yet, the true legacy of the case isn't found in the secrets he took to the grave, but in the light that was shone upon them while he was alive.
Upon hearing the news of Hansen's passing, Fawthy offered a final, grounding perspective on the man he had hunted for so long. On this day, we should only remember his many victims and all of their families, and my heart goes out to all of them. As far as Hansen is concerned, the world is better without him.
Agreed. Lainey, he was 75. So he was, what was that, 40 years? No, 30 years, 30-ish years he had to spend in prison before he died.
And it would have been longer if Alaska would have done their job. Just saying.
Now, Hansen's story ended in the shadows of a hospital ward. But the story of his victims, the women who were finally named and the ones who still wait in the silt, continues to be told by those who believe, like us, that every life, no matter how marginalized, is worth seeking. And that is the conclusion of our series of Robert Hansen.
But there will be many of epilogues, I think.
I feel like there will be.
And I think there will be a new Alaska Missing Person series.
Probably. Probably. How about you do your closings first, since you did a better job than I did at writing them out?
Okay. Amy, I agree with you. And guys, I have to say this before I get into my closing thoughts, because this just hit me. His kids were victims too. They had to mourn so much when their dad went to prison. But I think we also need to remember that when he died, they still lost a parent, or their idea of what a parent, a dad, their safety. So I just can't imagine how hard that all had to have been for his wife and the kids.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Now, I honestly do not know what else I can say that I haven't already said during this marathon into Alaska and Robert Hansen. Everything we have learned about Robert Hansen and how Alaska law enforcement handled things just pisses me off. I mean, guys, let's be real. Okay. Hansen wasn't a genius. Okay. He wasn't. He was a predator who figured out how to take advantage of society's biases. I mean, think about it. Alaska's the one who created that environment. They nourished it and kept telling him, you're a respectable businessman. And they kept saying out loud, oh, he couldn't have. He has a stutter. He has a baby. He has a wife. He has children. He goes to church. He couldn't possibly. It's not that he was smart, guys, because he wasn't.
He was average. Nothing remarkable. That's for damn sure.
Yeah. So I think I've said it before. Alaska law enforcement is just as accountable as Robert Hansen, okay? By them choosing to believe Hansen over women, especially when a woman came to them with receipts and they were able to verify the car, everything. They didn't care. They didn't care. By choosing to believe him over the women, it allowed him to kidnap and kill so many more. Okay. And the fact that when they found remains, they didn't even stop to think, why don't we check Robert Hansen? I've seen the newspapers that Llama's looked at. How did they not say, oh my God, a body? We should go check Hansen's list.
I know, it's crazy.
Newspapers were delivered to everybody's doors back then. You didn't even have to go look for it, people. That's what I don't understand.
Yeah.
So, I mean, how did they not put the puzzles together? And what scares me, how many more do we not know about?
Yes.
How many unhoused maybe are actually missing? Because we learned watching the Alaska Women documentary, another person learned from Robert Hansen.
Sure did. Law
enforcement didn't.
They didn't say it, but we know that they did. We know it to be true.
Who else learned from him? And who else is preying on Alaska? So that's what scares me. Robert Hansen is an evil piece of shit. But the fact that he was able to do this for as long as he did, anyone who hears this story should be angry. And if you've watched the documentary about him, you should be pissed that they didn't tell the whole story.
Yes.
Because when Llama wanted to do this, I'm like, I know that story too. We can do that in 2 episodes. We're good.
Now it's like, au contraire, Terry. Just trust me on this. No, ma'am.
Doesn't work for a network. We're not getting paid hundreds of thousands of dollars to do this research.
No, I wish. Could you imagine?
I know.
My billable hours would be insane.
They did a documentary, and excuse my French right here, they fucked over the victims just as much because they didn't even talk about it. They swept it under the rug.
They sure did.
Amy, what? You found another case? There's another predator in Alaska who took.
Oh, girl, there's so much shit to Alaska. There's so much more.
Okay, could we set up a meeting when I come back from medical leave for an Alaska meeting? Maybe we need to go down how. But I'm going to say I hate Alaska, except for the couple of good police officers, Baker Flothy, I forget the lady's name.
Hogspin,
And all of the
Futrell.
women in Alaska. I love all of the women in Alaska, and you should be very careful. I'm done with Alaska. It's no longer on my bucket list unless we are going there to do an expose in kick-ass.
Which I would be more than happy to do. And yes, as lady, to think this started out as one episode, because that's exactly what I wrote the episode based on Lady and Grace episode. And I was like, nope,
I
that's
thought
not
it was going to be
happening.
2 because I have watched the documentary. And that's why when you kept saying, oh, it's going to be more, I was like, why could it be more? I'm like, is she going to ramble on and on or what?
I mean, yes.
And then when you find out that they kept everything from us.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry, whichever network, whichever documentary people put that together, shame on them. Shame on you. And I think the families should get together and sue them because to me, they lied by being deceitful and not telling the whole story.
I agree. There was 1, then 2, then 3. Are you singing me the Melania birthday song, Amy? And then there was 12. Actually, just to let everybody know, I did get this story finished by the end of the month, like I promised. And I was actually 1 episode shorter than when I quoted Terry. I probably needed to tell the story.
I'm sorry to tell you, you did not make it by the end of the month because today is
Ma'am, I was sick.
It's not March.
And still wrote 3 episodes, ma'am.
Hey, I said as long as we got it done before I went out on medical leave.
That's true.
So
that is true.
You did it perfect.
No, Amy, can you do me a favor? Can you bring up the map that you made for me for my closing? So as Terry said, I came to her. I was like, listen, girl, like there is so much more to this story. I am so angry reading what I'm reading. We have to tell this whole story because if we don't, then we are no better than the investigators, than the parole officers,
and the public.
The public. If we don't go and tell all of these women's stories. And listen, I literally, as I said, read every single newspaper.com article about all of this.
Guys, we got our money's worth for our subscription.
It's true.
In just a month and a half.
I read everything on the internet. I had over 400 pages of research that I used to put these last 12 episodes together. And it still breaks my heart that for so many of the victims that we were able to cover, there is barely anything about them as people anywhere. And it was heartbreaking those 3 days writing about all of them, to know that their mere existence was boiled down to 1 or 2 sentences, because that's it. That's all I had to work with. And then I had to make it more than that. And it's so sad. And then I want everybody to look at this map. Amy went through, she marked to the best we could. Like, you guys, oh my God, the research in doing this show was a nightmare, trying to figure out what was true, what was not true, what was biased, what was not. It's a fucking mess to navigate. And I'm sure we've made some mistakes. And I'm sure some asshole is going to be like, oh, well, that date's wrong. Well, it's fine. All right. I'm still doing a better job than fucking Alaska did in 13 years. Because these women that I don't even know, who all were born and died before I was born, I care more about their legacy than anybody fucking did in those 13 years. Alaska. All right.
When were you born?
1985.
Holy shit.
Yes, 1985. I was born in 1985.
That much older than...
You don't need to tell everybody your business, Terry.
I'm old. You could be my child.
But yeah, babes, yeah.
But I'm out. Mike out. I'm done. Bye, guys. Thank you. I'm done.
But no, I mean, look at this map. All of the blue names are women that we know that's them. We have found their bodies, or we may not have found their bodies, but we know that's where they are because Hansen, we were able to determine who they were. We mean the investigators, but we as well. All of those yellow ones are bodies that have not been found. They don't know who those people are. Look at all of that yellow still on Hansen's map. There is still, I don't understand why for 40 years, over 40 years, there is still so much yellow on that map. Now, I will say this, Alaska is not the easiest place to navigate, to look for things. It's not.
The terrain
It is
there.
awful. All right. I watch alone. Thank you very much. I love, yeah. Yeah. Is that a good holy shit? I don't know. Do I look good for 40? I hope so.
Yeah. I mean, how am I just now putting that together when I knew you were 40?
You knew I was 40. I
know. I'm like,
but
wow. Okay.
Look at how much is still undone. And listen, again, I'm not
guys,
even
these are
blaming.
ones that he marked on the map.
Yes. And
before he had this thought.
Yeah, I understand why they haven't went out to find a lot of these women. It is very expensive. It is dangerous. And there is a small window of time. And the wilderness is more than what any of us in the lower 48 can even imagine. No matter where you live in the 48, it's unbelievable. So I understand why to a degree, but at the same time, there's so many of us now that can do something to figure out who these exes belong to, because we know that they're there. We know that they're women. We know that they have families. We know that they were somebody. So who in the fuck are they? And what are we going to do about it now?
And we know somebody has been able to get to there at least once. So it's not like it's totally unobtainable.
Yeah. And listen, I'm not throwing shade at state troopers or anything for not being able to find. Alaska is different. That if this would happen in fucking Indiana, I would be like, fucking go. Okay. It's flat. There's literally nothing.
I mean,
just go walking in a field for 100 miles.
Appalachia.
Well, even then, mountains. Alaska is very, Alaska has shit that's going to eat you.
And it's dangerous.
all year. Okay.
It's dangerous too.
And if like you don't know how bad it is, watch the show alone. I love it.
That they also have a limited time every year.
They do.
Where but still, I am that a hopeful person. I hope that someone is going to put together a group of pilots, searchers. And if you have 2 weeks in a year and you got 5 planes, pick 5 of the yellow spots and go for it.
Mm-hmm. I feel like these women were so discarded every step of the way by every single person in their stories. It is so sad. It is so, so sad. And I'm not saying that if I would have been in Anchorage during these times, I would have been a good person and seen it. I'm not saying that. But what we know now, 40, 45, 50 years later, I think it's up to us to do something to close this story, because we don't know. Hansen's dead. All right. And listen, those yellow spots, I believe in my whole heart, are not the only other victims of Hansen. There is no way. All right. On everything we know as serial killers at this point in time, there is absolutely no way he had did all he had did and only decided to kill women on a whim when he's 40 years old after having a history of raping and kidnapping women. It doesn't just go wrong one time after 13 years. It doesn't happen. It never happens. So what else is there? And, Amy and I had talked, that's right, 20 and 21. Thank you, Amy. 20 and 21, it is believed to be Mary Thill and Megan Emmerich. And I also want to say, too, that every single woman that we've brought up in our story, they are cases I personally believe that Hansen has something to do with. I do believe that he killed Beth Van Zanten. I do believe he killed Shirley Jonas. I do believe he killed ZZ Mason. All right. How many gravel pits have I just told you about in the last 3 episodes? Yeah. Well after ZZ Mason. It's literally his MO. All you have to do is look back, look at people that were missing, but sadly, and Robin Pelkey, and I've thought about this well before Robin Pelkey, but how many victims does he have that were never reported missing? I think that's a very high number, is what I think.
Oh, agreed. And how many not in Alaska?
And how many not really? Yes, Terry.
Because I'm
yes.
like, you don't just start doing that when you move to Alaska.
No, you don't. And so, I'm sure there will be bonus episodes in the future. I want to tell Gary Zeiger's crazy story before he got murdered, because it is crazy. And, Amos and I plan on looking more into Alaska, into the Dakotas, Minnesota, Iowa, excuse me, all the places he was in his early 20s, because with everything we know, and listen, Hansen was a basic bitch. Okay. He was textbook everything. He wasn't special in his serial killings. He was about as exactly textbook as you can be, which means that there were a lot of women before he was 40 that he probably murdered. Just where are they and who are they? And that's what I believe in my heart after doing all of the research that I did. So I just want to say I'm really glad to have taken this long journey to tell the real story of Robert Hansen, the butcher baker of Alaska, to tell the real stories of all of his victims that we know about, because they are more than just sex workers and dancers. They didn't do anything wrong.
I know they didn't, but even the two that there's marks on the maps, he didn't admit to them because they didn't fall in that category, which tells you there's others.
Exactly.
Anybody that thinks that's it, I'm going to tell you, I have got some oceanfront property right here in my backyard in Austin, Texas to sell you.
Does this map look like a man who can control himself? No. Does it? This is only 3 years. Lukna Annie, 1980. That's it. 3 years, guys, this map.
That's it. That's what I said. What about all of the others?
Yes, I agree. I think there are many more to claim. I think the story is much darker than we could ever imagine. And, listen, I don't know any of these women. I wasn't even fucking alive. All right. But if I'm touched and I'm inspired by them to get to the truth of what happened, to give names to these unknowns, to find others that could possibly, because listen, I know that when they went to do the interview of Robert Hansen, the confession, I understand that to some degree their hands were tied because they wanted to get as many names out of him as possible. Because listen, once he went to prison, he didn't talk shit to nobody. Nobody. There's nothing. He didn't speak out about anything. That is it. That is all the information there is. And just like the news today, Terry, the Ted Bundy news today, where they connected an old murder to Ted Bundy that wasn't on their radar.
It wasn't on their radar.
How many victims of Robert Hansen's are we going to find? Because they don't tell all their secrets.
And that's what I said. And that's where, when I say DNA, genetic stuff is going to help us, because hopefully we have Robert Hansen's DNA stored somewhere. So when they find items of clothing or whatever they find, they can trace it back to him.
And I want to say to you, Terry, Midday Missing, this is what you do. You cover the stories of the people that society doesn't really give a shit about. They're not the perfect victims, if you will. And that's why your show is so important, because you are giving voices to the missing that are like a lot of these women in blue, a lot of these unknown women in yellow.
And even if they're not, even they're just an everyday person like us. That's why so many people are mad about Nancy Guthrie getting so much exposure, because so many don't get it. And a lot of it has to do with they don't want to look for the imperfect victims, Also, there's so many. Law
So
enforcement doesn't have the bandwidth.
I don't know how many of us are perfect to begin with. I probably wouldn't even qualify as a perfect victim. I know I wouldn't.
I wouldn't qualify. In fact, a lot would be like, yeah, we're glad she's gone. But what is sad is those families, guys, they never just move on. And I have to tell you, the number of family members who have told me that they've been told to just move on.
Yeah.
And to forget about their missing loved one.
Gross.
I have to tell you, whoever says that is a human. And if you've ever thought of saying it, shame on you.
Right?
Shame on you.
It's been 40, 50 years for some of these people. Should we forget about all of them? Go fuck yourself. No. That's what I have to say about it.
I mean, they have children, they have parents, they have siblings, they have friends, they have cousins, they have, I mean, just because you're missing doesn't mean they just forget about you. Mm-hmm. They don't just say, oh, yeah, I had a person. Yeah, they're gone. Let's just move on. They wonder what happened. Mm-hmm. And that's why I am shocked at Alaska to hear. Took them so long to identify person. You knew, Hansen. You knew there was a map. You knew, and you still didn't put it together. That tells you right there how unimportant missing women are to law enforcement and the majority of society.
Exactly. So let's do better because things are not fixed in Alaska, yo. Okay? Go watch Lost Women of Alaska. It's about another serial killer recently in the 2019, 2016 time frame who did the same exact fucking thing. And you hear the same dumb shit from the investigators then too, where you're like, oh my God, you know how many serial killers Anchorage has had in the last like 40 years? At least 3, but I think it's 5. But 3 I can remember off the top of my head, so I don't want to say 5. But you have a history of serial killers killing sex workers. So when some of them start going missing, I don't understand how they're like, well, it doesn't look like anything to me. You know? It's not like you live in some fuck-all town of like 500 people where you're like, nothing bad ever happens here.
Yeah, that's...
Hello?
It's called the last frontier for a reason.
I'm like, I'm apparently overqualified for a job on the police department or the troopers of Alaska because I can use my entire brain to connect dots.
Well, and to be honest, I don't think it's that. I think it's that they don't see the significance or the time. They're like, why should I waste my time on that? I mean, let's just be honest, guys. We're talking about sex workers, exotic dancers. But guys, I said this earlier. I don't remember if it was off air or not, but who do you think's paying to see them?
Exactly, Terry.
It's
called supply and demand for a reason. It's
the company owners. It's the community guys.
The respectable people.
And that's the problem. And we all can do better because even I occasionally will see somebody and I will make an instant judgment and I try really hard and say, oh, check yourself. Mm-hmm. You don't know what their situation is. You shouldn't. And we all can have those moments.
Absolutely. Myself included.
And the one thing that we can do is try to be better. Oh, Israel Keys. Israel Keys was more than Alaska. He was. Yeah. I think there's a lot more.
There was another guy named Bunday who was around the same time as Thomas Bunday, I believe, in Fairview.
Those are the ones that we know about.
That we know about. Exactly, Terry.
I mean, Alaska's a big place, and there's a lot of, so.
Well, I just want to say, one, thanks for letting me turn this into a gigantic project.
I appreciate it because you did what you and I both agree on with our show is being respectful to the victims and telling the stories, even when they're hard. And even if nobody else cares.
Yeah. I care. I don't give a shit.
We care. And I don't give a shit if anybody else does. Guys, there was in Alaska, and we're going to do an episode of it. I just haven't told Llama yet. There was a person who a young Native woman was killed, turned out to be the police officer in
What?
Anchorage,
Never.
Alaska.
Oh, for fuck. I bet she's not the only fucking one. I'll tell you that right now. I will tell you that right now. Guess what? Not the only
They
one.
suspect there's more because they have proof that he was picking these women up and having sex with them in his patrol car while on patrol. You know what else is interesting, guys? They never took his police vehicle in for forensics.
I would love to. I just have my shocked Pikachu face on right now. Like, you don't say. Go
it's
figure.
on my list
Wow.
that Llama and I will be doing because I heard it on another podcast. They did a good job. But after this, I'm like, oh, I know there is so much more that they didn't tell because I also heard their version of Hansen, and I thought I knew Hansen.
And that's my plea to all of our listeners is next time you go watch a Hansen documentary, you leave a comment or somewhere and be like, why don't you tell the real story? The real story. Hold everyone accountable for what happened because Alaska does have blood on their hands. It's not up for a debate. It's not a matter of opinion. There is no opinion to have.
And for anyone, because I did read a couple of articles that they said, you can't prove those unknown women are tied to Hansen. Excuse me. They're on his fucking map.
You literally can.
Else would you? It's just like when the girl comes in and says, this guy took me. This is what he drove. This is what the inside of the house looked like. He had a gun. What more evidence do you need? Any X on that map is a person.
Yeah,
and anyone that says they're not, you need.
You're part of the problem.
To just go away.
You're part of the problem.
In Savage, it's okay to pay for exotic dancers.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm certainly
paid
not
for them. I've
at
tipped
all.
them.
But the problem is that there's like, oh, these are respectable people and these aren't, even
not
though
people.
they merge together all the fucking time because they're people.
They're people. And guys, as we're seeing in the news right now, just because you come from a holy roller family doesn't mean you're not a bad person.
No. But I just want to say, I'm glad I don't have to write anything like this for quite a while. I've been writing for you for like quite a while now, and I have not had a case like this that's ever affected me in the way that it has to write it, both angry and sadness and
get all
hopelessness, all of the emotions with it, because it has been, 40, 50 plus years. And you could literally take this entire story and put it into today's world, and it would make just as much sense.
Well,
and that's what's sad about this whole thing. But more so,
it's happening in other states.
Oh, yeah. Alaska's not the only place.
Guys. Let's just be honest. It just hasn't been put together yet.
But this isn't all on Robert Hansen. Yes, he did the disgusting things.
He was a bad person, but he was given the keys and a manual of how to do it.
Many women lost their lives, literally lost their lives, because he wasn't in jail where he was sentenced to be. He should have been in there. All of the dead women we have talked about, every single dead woman that we've talked about, every single survivor after Patty Roberts, none of that should have happened, because during those times, his ass should have been in prison where he was sentenced to be. And that is what is infuriating. Because we're not talking about one or two women. We're talking about dozens, even more than dozens of women. We don't even know how many women, all because, well, he's a man who owns a business and has a family. And that is so ungodly sad.
But when he was caught, if they would have kept him where he was supposed to be instead of this wackadoodle psychiatrist who, I mean, they put him on work release like 6 months later.
Yeah.
They thought he was cured. You do not cure a
You don't.
person who's this evil. You
You
don't
don't.
cure them. There is no cure.
You don't. Yeah, they didn't believe the trooper's dog. It didn't
Exactly.
matter. I mean, that's exactly why I was like, Terry, we need to tell you're not going to believe the shit
Yeah.
that I have to tell you
And then
about.
an
You're not going
archbishop
to
said
believe it.
if they would have come from good families, is a trooper's family not a good family?
Oh, Lainey said, are you going to be doing the Gilgo Beach Killer story? Is pleading next week, April 6th, is the hearing. It's similar to this one. I would like to. I'm not going to be doing it anytime soon.
No, I would like to.
But I'm with you. I see the similarities.
I think he has more victims too.
Absolutely.
And
That
that's
guy does.
why
In
he
different.
is somebody maybe end of the year or next year.
Yeah.
Because I think there's still more to come from him.
I agree.
There's still more to come.
I want to as well, Lainey. They're
They are.
so similar. But next time I'm not gonna be like, so this episode, by the way,
She
was
is
supposed to
not
be
going to
one.
say it's going to be 1 or 2 episodes. She's going to be like, listen, I got a novel I want to do.
I
How
don't
are
even
we
know
doing
how many
it?
pages we wrote. Let's see if each episode's like 20 pages. I don't somebody do the math. But no, I did not give myself enough time. I mean, I did them all, but next time I want to give myself some time. But no,
Lainey,
I
the
am very
reason
interested in that.
he is pleading guilty, I think, and talking to somebody I know that lives in that area that is in law enforcement up in y'all neck of the woods, kind of. He's pleading guilty, so he doesn't have to talk.
Yep.
And
Well,
doesn't have to tell about the others. Oh, no, he's gonna have to allocute to
wait,
what
is
he's
he
done.
pleading guilty or taking a plea deal?
So, he's pleading guilty.
Oh, then he doesn't have to say anything if he doesn't want to. Interesting.
But apparently there is some evidence. There's some DNA stuff going on in the background. So,
Well, I think that's why Hansen took the plea deal too. He didn't want all of his secrets to be public information. And I feel that's the same with Rex as well. But I'm definitely keeping my eye on that, Lainey.
I wanted it to go to trial because I was going to force Llama to stream it if it
It
was.
wouldn't. I don't know if it'd be. It's in New York.
I know, same, but if it would
isn't
have
it?
been, I would have been begging you.
Oh yeah, I probably would have. I mean, it's not every day you get a serial killer trial these days, but
Yeah.
But anyway, so that wraps up our closing thoughts. Again, I know it's been many episodes. I hope now that we've finished it, I recommend anybody who has finished this, please just go back and listen to the first episode or listen to all of them. Now you know all the things. It is so
now
obvious.
You're like going, how did they not?
Yeah. That first episode, I mean, it's infuriating. Once you know everything, you're like, oh my God, are you kidding me? He's been on your radar this whole fucking time. He's done all this shit. You know about it. And you're like, no.
Well, my law enforcement friend who's retired, he's like, when I was telling him, he's like, why are you doing that? I thought y'all were doing that like 3 weeks ago. Because I talked to him today. I was like, no, do you not know? He's like, yeah, I've seen the documentary and I know. And I started telling him, he goes, what? He goes, are you sure? I'm like, just go back and listen. I said, I know my voice drives you crazy, but just go.
Yeah.
Rest our livers. Oh, yes. That's why we were going to do this before surgery, because after tomorrow night, I will be dry for quite a while.
Yeah, me too, since I want to drink so much. Well, that's Amy's cue to say, no, I'm just kidding. That's not her cue.
Thank you all for sticking with us and for being just as angry.
And if you have any questions, leave them in the comments. Maybe we'll do a bonus episode where we just answer questions and talk more in depth about things. Whatever you guys want. If you want more, you let me know, and I will definitely work on making that happen in a few months or so. I need to escape Alaska for a few weeks. But go ahead. Sure.
Oh, I was trying to remind you guys, tomorrow night, we are back with True Crime and Wine Time. But guys, we are not going to be in Alaska. We are going to go over to Florida. We're going to go over where it's a little bit warmer. And let me tell you, tomorrow night we're getting into the case of Dahlia Toledo, and let me tell you, she will be one of the reasons that you will never forget Florida. We all know Florida's crazy. She should be their poster child.
Look at those highlights. We've all been there, but
should be their poster child.
She's the worst. She is the worst. I'm excited to talk about somebody other than fucking Robert Hansen. I'm so excited about it. Let me tell you what. Now, before we go, though, if you like what you heard tonight, be sure to follow all of our socials and subscribe to our YouTube channel. It's free. And I do other stuff besides this podcast, like Couch Court with Llama, where we're discussing Laura Owens, which is batshit insane. And it's about to get so much more insane. Excuse me, next week. It's unbelievable. But if you're listening to our pod, please download and give us a rating. All of that helps us tremendously in getting our channel out there. And again, we just appreciate everyone's support in helping us do what we love and bringing voices to the victims, because that is our number one priority. I don't care if we don't give any views on this story. It's a fact that we've said all of these women's names and their stories because you live as long as the last person that remembers you. And I think these women deserve to be remembered.
Absolutely.
So, and then we have something else.
Yeah. And sorry, Savage, I can't think of what the title of the song is. Ball something, but yeah.
What are you even talking about?
Favorite song from, you've got to read the comments, okay? Wasp's album, From the Last Command.
Oh, okay. Well, why do you do that?
What is this stuff? Oh, my God.
We're going to do a little promo. So when we're not live, we hang out in our Discord server, the Courtyard. And
not we, them.
Us, me, and all the cool kids hang out on the Courtyard on Discord. And right now, we are doing a Marvel marathon, the MCU, as we prepare for Doomsday. We've been doing it nonstop when we're not on here live. That is exactly what we're doing over there. So come join our Discord server. It's okay if you don't know how it works. We will happily teach you and get you in there. But we are watching all the Marvel shows and movies, everything, because if you thought I'm long-winded and want to tell a series in 12 parts, I go even deeper with TV shows and movies. So join us over on the Courtyard. We also talk true crime over there too.
We do, but I mean, I will say they got me into Game of Thrones, and I have been so grateful for that.
You're welcome.
And I have seen all of the Marvel shows. I've seen them. I don't need to go see them again. But I am starting Housewives of Salt Lake City.
And you're going to see I was right again. And maybe you do need to watch the shows. Did you watch
saw
Agents
that
of
one
S.H.I.E.L.D.?
of them just got out of prison.
One of them? Which one? Oh, there's a bunch of
girls in with.
Yes, I know who you're talking about, Jen Strong.
Yeah. So I'm excited to learn about this woman and how she went from being a real house. And how can you be a housewife if you have a job? Because I thought a housewife stay home and took care of the house, not ran businesses.
These ladies, and spoiler alert, a lot of them have legal troubles, and quite a few of them go to federal prison.
Okay, and they have housekeepers and nannies, so you can't be a housewife if you have nannies and housekeepers.
I assure you that's going to be the least of your questions.
Okay.
Anyway, so yeah, if you want to come fun, we talk about true crime there too as well, not just Marvel, though. There's a lot of Marvel and Housewives talk.
Just right now.
Is there anything that you want to say before we go or sign off, Terry?
I do. I want to thank everybody for sticking with us during this horrible case, but I also want to ask everyone to let it be a reminder to not only stay aware of yourself and the people around you and what's going on, but if you see something and it doesn't look right, say something. Because that was one of the problems in Alaska, and we see it happen. People are like, oh, it's none of my business. I don't want to get involved. Do something. Also,
when the police aren't doing their shit, call them out on it, too.
Call them out on it. And let's try to be kind, and let's not judge other people's lifestyles. Let's not. if they're consenting adults and they are choosing to go work that profession, it's none of our business.
That's true. That's true. Well, I want to say thank you all for joining us on this very long multi-part series. I know sometimes it can be a little overwhelming when there's numerous parts, but I hope you all understand why we felt it was so important to tell the complete story of Robert Hansen and all of his victims. I would love to list them all, but it's sadly it's so many that I can't. And please share this story on social media if you have it. When you see them put out a new documentary about Robert Hansen, if they leave out everything that happened before, call them out on it. That's another group. Call them out. Ask them why they're protecting the state that let dozens of women die, is all I'm asking for you to do. Go be a voice for those women who never got the chance to say anything. Because we can still do our part, even 40 years later.
We can.
But on that somber note, let me just share it up with what I always say. Until next time, being tomorrow night, go forth and be amazing. All right? Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.